The 2020 election is back in the spotlight. For the very first time, we can hear for ourselves a recording of a phone call in December of 2020 between President Donald Trump and then Speaker of the Georgia House of Representatives, David Ralston.
In it, President Trump asked Ralston, a fellow Republican, to call a special session, a move that could have opened the door to efforts to reverse the results of Georgia's presidential election after Joe Biden beat Trump by a narrow margin. Here's some of that recording published by the New York Times.
You do it to uncover fraud. You could say for transparency and to uncover fraud, possible fraud. So who's going to stop you for that? You know, it's like
a federal judge, possibly.
The Georgia House Speaker said on the call that his team was evaluating its options, but ultimately never called for that special session.
Now, Ralston did die in 2020, but there were others in his office who were listening to that conversation. And one of them was his chief of staff, Spiro Amburn, who sat down with our very own Zach Merchant. So, Zach, what did he tell you today?
Yeah, it was a conversation that really focused on the question of how did this team make the decision that they did make? Amburn said it was a high stakes call, but ultimately they thought through it, the staff evaluated it, but ultimately they decided and determined that the speaker had no legal authority to unilaterally convene a special session. Now, you might recall this phone call. It came up during a special grand jury investigating whether Trump and others interfered with the 2020 election, and David Ralston was asked to testify. Speaker Ralston's decision not to call for a special session was celebrated by some Georgians, others very unhappy with the speaker. We asked Spiro Amburn, his one-time chief of staff, who is a Republican himself, about it today. To a Republican who might look back in that moment and feel like the speaker should have taken a different course of action, what would you say to them?
I would say to those Republicans that the speaker did his job. He did the job he was elected to do, not just as Speaker of the House, but for his district and for the entire state of Georgia. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, that's what you take an oath of office to do. I believe that he did that, and that if he were here today and could go back and do it again, he would do the same thing. He could not call a special session himself, so he did his job. He fulfilled his constitutional duties and obligations as Speaker of the House.
He felt like, and you felt like, he was complying with the letter of the law.
Absolutely.
This is part of our conversation. You can see more of that conversation coming up this Sunday on the Georgia vote, the 2020 election. In some ways, it's a long ways in our rearview mirror, and others still very much a part of our politics right now.